This is the Jacque Maribe Show.
We're in Kirinyaga County on the trail of a man who's played an integral role when it comes to the internal affairs of various political parties, yet seemingly disappeared from it. This is the Jacque Maribe Show, straight from Maya Gardens in Sagana. We are speaking to Joe Mathai, officially Joseph, but Joe Mathai is what you prefer.
Joe was the child.
Joe was?
that boy in the village. Now I'm Joe.
Now you're Joe.
Mathai.
Joe Mathai.
Yes.
And having come from, very serious and powerful positions in political parties, I want us to start on that note. So take us back to your days in Kanu as executive director, your transition from there to what you're currently doing now, because you seem to have been somebody who was out there and then you just disappeared. What happened, Joe?
Of course, let me just say, my journey started long in Fodasili with Matiba, and that's how I was able to interact with the then chairman of Kanu, the president currently, the party leader of Jubilee. And in the two instances of being the boss at Kanu and TNA, I needed to be out there. And sometimes even just stamp the authority of the party. Sometimes there were things that needed to be articulated outside the party spokesman, that is the Secretary General. But after the merger, there were so many resources put together, like 12 parties came together. And it was clever to not elevate one of us into position of leadership, because that would have made other parties just feel like they have merged into TNA. And again, it was also clever for me to step back and allow the people who had been given the mandate to be seen, to be visible, to articulate the position of the party. But I can tell you, it has been like the dark effect. You can see the movement, but the activity is underwater. So I've been right inside the politics of this country, but now I'm minus that visibility, in terms of, you'll find Tuju doing much of the work, because he's the CEO and the Secretary General of the party. Currently, as you know, I'm a regional director at the party. Not much would happen without my presence on the table to make some decisions, because Jubilee currently has constituted is a conglomerate of parties which brings a lot of experience, and I believe, albeit any other challenge that will come from other parties, that TNA brought the highest numbers in the merger. So we are the highest shareholder, if we can argue like that. But for purposes of harnessing our coming together, we didn't want to look like we are fighting for space. So I'm there, but a bit quiet in the back room.
I don't think we'd call it a bit quiet. I think it's a lot more than that. And for some people who've also been questioning, where did Joe Mathai go? Executive Director TNA, former Executive Director Kano, you were in Fodasili. Your presence was seen and felt. And then comes now the bigger house, Jubilee, and the merger. And now you're Regional Director. But like you're saying a bit quiet, but a lot more people would feel like, that silence would be, would bring a lot of questions. What is happening? Is everything okay in the party, or this silence means something else and we're not seeing it?
Let me say, it is not a coincidence that now I'm talking to you, because the electoral cycle, again, sometimes dictates you're in the low. But now we are at a point where you're going to see, especially as regional directors, coming out, because I represent a very key constituency, Kiambu and Murang'a. If you take the votes, that's a very huge area. It's a very important area. Central Kenya now is the girl that everybody wants to woo. But let me say, agree that yes, I went quiet. I went to do something else during the low side of the electoral cycle. And now I make tea and mandazi in a place called Maya. So I never lost my titles. My titles are still there. I'm also an executive director here.
You're also an executive director here.
Yes.
All right, Joe, you have been quite instrumental and right in the center of matters Jubilee and formerly TNA. Right now, we're seeing a lot of, push and pull within the party. There are those who are clearly very unhappy with how the party is working, what is happening, in as far as even being called Jubilee A and Jubilee B. What is happening in the Jubilee House? Has everything burst at the seams?
I think history is very good for people who practice politics. We had Kanwe Kanbe when Moi was about to leave power. Come 2012, when Kibaki was again about to exit, you remember that time we were in Kano, but some people thought it was another transition where people were moving in different directions again for interest, and that's how TNA was born. Right now, you can clearly say that the biggest shareholders of Jubilee were URP and TNA. URP has since bolted with their colors and everything and became UDA. So right now is again a rearrangement that is going to be seen across the country. I think it is something that happens around this time. But you see, I think the first attempt was to wreck Jubilee or to seize it and use it. And even after the exit of URP, so to speak, you have seen other members of parliament who are trying to say now this leadership is not good because it is a rush, man. It's rush hour for politics. I saw a party leader of a party in Central telling some guys there is another home because interests have changed. We in Jubilee now, it is clear that we are going into some form of coalition with the ODM, for instance. There are people who are looking at their fortunes, in terms of where they would want to contest and think that is not a very good thing for them to do. So I'll tell you, you have not seen anything. You have not seen anything. And I think most things will fall clear around October, November, such that even bosom friends will part way and meet again because it is now moving towards what is innate for me. But I think what has guided us all this time as party managers mostly is the interest of this nation, like things like the cohesion, the peace, and then we also look at who is the best bet for this country. Again, it boils down to regions. We are talking about the region I represent here in the mountain region. You'll find that here we are just both at about a few interests: agriculture, the minimum guaranteed returns for our coffee farmers and tea farmers, our numbers in terms of representation, which we had tried to push through the BBI. And now we are asking all the candidates who are offering themselves for presidency, who is our best bet in terms of taking care of our interest? You know for sure that there are members of parliament in that assembly who come with 15,000 voters. For here in Central, that is an MCA. So we are saying again, one man, one vote, one shilling. We have to push that even after the fall of the BBI. So that conversation is what is guiding this region in terms of the decisions we are going to make. And having been in all what you have mentioned in leadership, I think I have a responsibility, even as a person outside Jubilee, to come and mobilize our people so that they are not just carried away by sloganeering and demand real things so that the next 10 years can perpetuate our interests. Because politics is about our interests. Simple. Yeah.
They say there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics.
Yes.
And from when we saw that infamous handshake happening to how things have gone on ever since, there are people in the party, obviously, and even within the party ranks who may feel a bit betrayed. Is there, a mechanism that perhaps people had been forewarned or sat down and told, listen, things might change as we move on, or we are going to stick to the original plan? 2013, 2017, the president serves, his term and finishes, leaves it to his deputy. Now things have changed. What is happening in Jubilee?
I think every clever politician must know that political promises are bouncing checks. I mean, these are checks that can bounce anytime. And all those prayers at that national level have been in previous coalitions, and they left. I don't want to go into details. Maybe, and they knew if you can leave, you can also be left. But again, it's all about the fleeting nature of the interests of a region, of a country. And times change and people grow into something else. So I don't think we can use betrayal in politics. That is only used in the other, in other relationships other than politics. And like you say, you never know even about tomorrow. I saw people getting excited about the countdown of the 365 days. You can go to the moon and come back, and there'll be an ever-changing landscape in politics. Because finally, if you're not accommodated here, you are likely to go to where you'll be accommodated. I mean, you saw, people thought, for instance, people like the DP and the Heshi in a 207, 208 scenario could not come together. Even our region, you would not have fathomed, a period where we would be voting on the same side with the Rift Valley people. But in the spirit of building bridges, we were able to come together in Nakuru, form a formidable coalition that won 2013 and 2017. I know sometimes people feel like, especially our followers, they've been demanding Kuliedaje, but I think when we go out there to explain to them, we want to tell them this is your best bet. And it's about selling the future of our people. And I know our people listen. So, no hard feelings. And
really?
Yeah.
No hard feelings?
No hard feelings. This is politics. I'm sure even the people who feel left are also looking for other suitors so that they can fashion a good competition. But I'm so excited about how this country is moving towards issue-based. When I hear people out there discuss about bottom up, trickle down, whatever, and I'm saying, you know what? We are just coming from tribe politics. Now we are discussing what is the best for our people in terms of the economic models, and I'm happy. And if that is what we are going to take to the campaign trail, I think Kenya is so much ahead of very many other states in Africa, because this politics of Matusi is only now domiciled in a few politicians who will be overtaken by events. Yes.
All right. I like that you have said no hard feelings, and I want to find out from you, even within the party official structure, there is a lot of kupigana that we are seeing, and so some people are saying remove A, B, C, D, remove person A, remove person B from being, an official of the party. No hard feelings still within the...
You see, it is so hypocritical sometimes that the people who had wanted to change certain officials had a plan B. They are now in a different party. I am told now they are bold enough. They are not talking about UDA they are now out there. From the DP himself. Yes, there's a time he was saying we are still in Jubilee. So they had wanted to remove people not because they didn't believe in them, it's because they had another plan. And that's why we said, it's not easy. You're not coming to throw out boys. And so when it became difficult, then their true colors are now being seen. And that is the realignment that happens around this time of the electoral cycle. It is so normal. You'll hear even other people talking about reloading. ODM reloaded, Jubilee reloaded, certain members of parliament. For example, I'm told Mambogo Ngojiri wants to come and become the Secretary General after only one term. Kanini Kega has ambitions. Why? Because they think that position will advantage them, in terms of nominations. And I can tell you, The party that will be captured by sitting members of parliament, in terms of its rebuild, is doomed, because we know numbers tell us that our people send home close to 70-80% of their leaders every time. Now assume that your Secretary General is a sitting member of parliament, your national organizing secretary, that is a party that is going home. We say that the biggest bet is to also put the other aspirants out there on board in terms of the key decision-making process between now and the elections. Because that's also how the sitting members of parliament came on board. So we are going to be firm. The constitution of the party is very clear about how you make me an officer, an official, and how you remove me. So any extrajudicial process will be resisted. And we say again, when you are elected member of parliament or governor or senator, you do not become the owner of the party. Your table is laid somewhere by the constitution. You can go to caucuses in parliament. You can lead a select committee. Those are party positions. So I don't know why people think and they are excited about this position of Secretary General. That should be a neutral person who is able to take instructions from the party leader and guide the party, taking care of all the interests. From one constituency, there is only one sitting member of parliament and 10 aspirants. From one ward, there is only one MCA and maybe 7, 8 other people who want to become MCA. That goes up to presidential. So imagine now if you're in the hands of an interested party, they are going to lock out everybody else. And that's how parties shrink. And I don't think we want to allow that. Yes.
All right. Another interesting aspect, Joe, and as a party manager, you would tell us, is how the money that comes from, the RPP then will be shared within the party. And Jubilee got quite a huge chunk of this political party's funds, and now, as you're rightfully saying, there's Jubilee A, Jubilee B, and that's not a new thing. How is this money going to be shared, Joe?
No. This money was not given to. This is public. This is public money. It's nobody's money. It is money that must be audited by the Auditor General. And the institution that won the election, it is calculated on the basis of the vote that you receive during a general election. So UNDA can wait for their turn. We are going into a competition. We spend that money in interest of promoting our young people with programs that make them leaders, our key stakeholders like women and people with disability, in terms of even training our legislators at county and national level to be able to generate good bills and stuff like that and policies. So this money is not given for goodies or for, it's not lollipop money. It's money to strengthen our democracy. If we had been in coalition with, like what the ODM has been discussing is because of the NASA arrangement. This money is for Jubilee, and we are entitled to that money until the end of this term, until another election is done. So, and the members who are in that parliament because of the Jubilee ticket must continue to pay their subscription, because that was captured well in the deed that they signed with the party. And that is discipline. I think people must be disciplined to finish a journey and start another one. When you read a chapter, finish it and you open another one. But the politics of this country is about, looking at tomorrow. But as a party secretariat member, I think we have to focus on our mandate, and our mandate ends when we hand over power to another government.
All right. For those elected leaders, as we wind up, that were elected into office through Jubilee tickets and are now championing for other parties, such as, for instance, UDA, there have been calls for them to then resign from the party, and then that would have implications on their seats. What is the position of Jubilee as of now to those who are speaking the language of another party but are in office through Jubilee?
You know, we have an internal dispute resolution mechanism where we have summoned some senators and now some members of parliament, some ordinary members, and even members of the county assembly. And after we exhaust that, people have a right. You know, also the party can be rogue and punish people for nothing. People have a reprieve to go to the PPDT, the dispute tribunal, and even the courts. And we have succeeded in some areas where we were able to prove that a member had gone off the line. I know Senator Mwaura know that the party whip can be cracked and it can be painful. Other people are battering their cases in court. So the party, we don't catch feelings like just normal, you know, like human beings because we are an institution. But I can tell you, for the posterity of this country, if there is no discipline at the party level, there will not also be discipline in the government. Because the political party is the mother of government. We are the people who nominate even presidential candidates. That's where the instruments of governance begin to exchange hands. Without a party certificate, the electoral body will not recognize you as a candidate. So we want strong parties that instill discipline, so that then when a party position is taken, unless you can canvass the party leader or the party organs that you be exempted because of particular parochial interest, you cannot go out there and oppose your party. Because then if that was to happen, and then we have another window, if you don't want to be bound by political parties' code of conduct, in this country, you can become an independent. You can become an independent. So we will continue with that because we want the generation of tomorrow to be able to know that political parties are also institutions that prop good leaders for tomorrow. Yeah.
All right. So now that reggae has stopped, as they call it,
Yes.
how are we looking at you know, these plans that have been, so to speak, they're being talked about as coalitions that are being formed, and particularly these meetings that have raised eyebrows in the coast. Now, reggae, quote unquote, has stopped. Of course, the president has been meeting political party leaders of other parties. What is happening within the coalition structures? Jubilee now is, you know, a marriage of other parties, but now we are seeing, is there another coalition being formed? I will not say it's a question to you. Is there another coalition being formed?
I think, you know, the whole spirit of the BBI was to get from the Ferrari presidency and make it maybe a Matatu one, you know, expand the positions, because that's what healed the 2007 post-election situations that we were in this country, where we know that there is a community aspect of feeling that they are also part of government, but I can tell you, we are not cornered. And that is why we said, first of all, we are talking about strengthening institutions in this country. So respecting court orders and court position is not an option. We have done that with the highest, from the ICC days to nullification of a general election where the votes clearly were on our side. But you know what? We want purity of institutions in this country. But now the conversation of constitutional reforms in this country, from my opinion, is that has gained more traction, because even by nullifying the BBI, we haven't healed the whole issue of revenue allocation. That our kids here in central Nyanza and western Kenya and Ukambani received paltry, bursary, compared to some guys in northeastern. We are going to continue speaking like that. We are going to continue talking about allocating like 30% of agricultural, finances to our counties so that our farmers can benefit. We're still going to preach harmony between communities, and that's why we want more handshakes. There is no end to handshakes. There should be an end to handshakes. So the issues are going to be taken to other platforms. And I can tell you now, because the elections are around the corner, I think politicians are clever people. They are the ones who make laws. We are going to find maybe now more activities in the House to try and anchor most of the proposals in the Constitution, that the ones that require two-thirds, the ones that do not require a referendum, can be canvassed, because we are not doing it for the president or the people who want to run for president or for Raila Odinga. We are doing it for this country. And I think when everybody is in that psyche, that it is not for Joe or for Jacque, it is for this country, I think the conversation will move to the next level. I think we shouldn't lose the spirit of the BBI. Reggae or no reggae, I think we should be able even to feel leader at this level, at this time, for this country. Because that is the responsibility of leaders, to always go beyond the outliers. Because then, if we were to give us as a country, who would have ever imagined that we do not have those tear gas Mondays, TSG what Thursdays, and it was affecting business of our people. Guys in government continue to receive their salaries. So that spirit of pulling everybody together and making a peaceful environment and being proud as a nation, it should be the spirit. And I'm so happy, even after the ruling on Friday, there is nobody who is over celebrating, because it was not personal. Those were not personal perks that were being demanded for retirement of the president. They were things that he thought were pertinent to making Kenya a better nation. Yes.
Indeed. So what's next? Director. Any sites on any political seat?
Having been with politicians now, I can say I know the ropes. And Jacque, I can tell you, you never rule out some of these things, because from where I sit, I receive demands sometimes from my constituents. I get involved in development. I am getting involved in the conversation around my region. And of course, I can't continue in secretariats forever. I need to now hand over to the guys behind me somehow, so I can comfortably say that maybe I'm serving my last party in terms of being in the secretariat. But I'll not go home. And I'll not become a preacher like some people are saying they'll become evangelists. I think now, after this, when I escort the president up to the end of his party, I'm going to take a dive into the deep end of politics. And I hope the microphone will be friendly to me. Now I've been using the pen, but I'll now take the microphone. That one you cannot rule out.
Now you take the microphone.
Yes.
All right. In the meantime, you've been executive director as well here at Maya. How's that been like? We've seen a lot is happening.
I'm happy I didn't start a hardware because here I'm able to meet guys like you on their way to different functions. It's again it's a people oriented, it's a people friendly, it's hospitality. So I'm meeting people every day, and now here it's better because we make people happy. When we take our coffee, and feel good. So it is it's very congruent to my background. I am so happy. It is very different. I can tell you, I had no single background in this business. But politics has also become very important. My contacts in the country, at least when I tell people I've started a small place for cuckoo and people want to come and try out.
And ostriches, we saw ostrich.
Okay, yes, I didn't know that I had a side of me that is wild. I love wild birds and animals. Yeah, so I think I'll take you around and you see more. There'll be more. But there's a lesson I've learned, that there are some politicians who get in politics and think that is where life begins and ends. And when power goes, they become a bit devastated. So my advice would be, if hardware is your thing, please start it, farm on the side, because power is fleeting. Power is fleeting. I'm telling you, I saw an MCA who now does Nduthi. I mean, he's a Nduthi guy. And it should get there because then when we are at that point, we can always start something and tap into our contacts. So this is good for retirement. And I can go out there now and try out things, and I know my kids will still go to school.
And will still go to school.
Yes.
Thank you so
And then
much.
finally, Jackie, also, the aspect of creating employment. Like here, I have more than 30 guys who are getting their livelihoods from this institution, not to mention the stakeholders, because we don't farm our own nyanyas, we don't have our own cuckoos, we don't. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, let's all be a blessing again, so that we don't go only talk about youth. Like I saw one guy being trolled when he lost his job, and he has been telling young people not to take CVs around. I think we should also think about what we can do at our levels to create employment for our young people. This place is also a learning place for guys who are in colleges. We take in a lot of interns, to come and learn the trade. And we think we're also in that area making an impact, because the other hugest problem we have is youth unemployment. So when you give these young people a place where they can also earn a dignified a livelihood, I think that's more impactful than even just my personal gratification. Yes. My name is Joe Mathai. Whenever you pass by Sagana, always make a point of patronizing Maya Garden in Sagana like Jacque Maribe did. And enjoy.
This is the Jacque Maribe Show. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. God bless.